Welcome, one and all. Anyone listening, you have just tuned in to Just Talking, a podcast where me and a colleague express our opinions on any and all things entertainment, whether it be movies, television, video games, books, comic books, toys, music, anything that comes to mind that is relevant at the time. We're going to tell you about it. Featuring myself, Christopher Shue, alongside, as always, my co-host, Kenneth Eaton. So guys, I'm ready. I hope you're ready. So without further ado, let's start the show. Hey guys, welcome back, wherever you are. This is episode 2 of the podcast. I can't believe it. Episode 2. I can't believe we made it this far, especially if I'm in charge. I can't believe we made it to episode 1. Anyways, wherever you are, welcome, and I hope you're comfortable. I hope you're sitting back, drinking something, eating something, whatever it is. I hope you're comfortable and ready to hear some jargon to be spewed, because we got plenty of it to spew. This particular episode, we're going to be talking about the brand new movie that just came out today, as we speak, Friday, April the 8th, Hardcore Henry. Yeah, the brand new experimental movie that just came out, which is probably not going to make a lot of money, but the brand new movie that just came out, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about it. Seeing this movie is kind of a gimmick kind of movie. We're going to talk about some of the few other gimmick genres of the movies these days, and a couple of the movies that relate to that. Plus, also we're going to talk about a couple of the trailers that we saw during this. During the screening, actually, some pretty cool little horror movies we're going to talk about. Also, the brand new Star Wars Rogue One trailer we're going to talk about a little bit at the end of the podcast. We're going to give our opinions and our feelings on what we think about Rogue One. Is it going to be as good as Force Awakens? What is it? Gareth Edwards is directing this thing. That's the guy that did Godzilla. So we'll tell you about that, and what else we'll talk about. Nonetheless, that's kind of the rundown of it. I guess I'm going to throw it over to Ken. How's it going, Ken?
Pretty good. Ready to talk about some Hardcore Henry.
What did you think of it as a movie?
As a movie, it's a simple narrative. Thought the beginning sequence, which you see in the trailers as well, was kind of reminiscent of RoboCop, like when RoboCop was first.
Right.
Pretty much, and so I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, when I saw the trailer, that's the first thing I thought. It was like a RoboCop kind of thing.
And it does have, other elements of RoboCop in that it's overly violent, although unlike RoboCop, it's not violent that makes you go, ooh, it's violent that makes you go, ha, because it's very cartoonish, very cartoonish.
Yeah.
In which...
Very video game-like. I mean, it really is. Like a live-action first-person shooter. Call of Duty.
Almost to where there's so much violence that I know there towards the end, there was still cool action violence scenes, but I was like, okay, I'm kind of just bored with the whole violence aspect of it, because it was just that, and it's just basically it's one note. That's what it is. And if you like really violent, over the top kind of films that have a gimmick to it, then I recommend it. But for me, it's a one and done pretty much.
Yeah, it's certainly a one note kind of movie, but I think that's what they were going for. I don't think that they were trying to do anything else.
Were you surprised that it got a wide release? Because I know that was something. I know when we first saw the trailer, I thought, well, this thing's probably only going to be in just... But it got a wide release, so I guess that's the thing. That's why I was saying overseas, it feels like something the distributors here said, well, we'll go ahead and put it in a couple theaters, but no, it got a wide release.
Well, I think it's based on... I think the influence was the producers. It was directed by a gentleman named Ilya Naishuler. Ilya Naishuler produced this thing, but Timur Timur Bekmambetov produced this thing, and
for us, the nickname is Timbuktu.
Is Timbuktu. If that perfectly pronounced name is familiar to you, it's because he produced, he directed movies like Night Watch and Day Watch. I don't even know if anybody remembers those.
his most famous was Wanted.
Wanted, he did that, but he got Wanted because of
The Watch movies.
the Watch movie. It's supposed to have been a third one,
Yeah,
but he just
I don't know if they
abandoned
ever
it
did it.
because with respect to those movies, they were kind of innovative. It seems like that it doesn't really matter to him if it's good or bad, if it makes sense.
It's more of a novelty kind of thing.
Right.
For him.
It's a shock value kind of guy. Movies that he does, and even his Night Watch, Day Watch, it was kind of like a vampire, weird Matrix, odd cacophony.
Oh, don't forget, he also did was it Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Did he direct that?
I think, or he produced. I know he was behind that too.
Yeah. Well, he also produced
Yeah.
he produced other stuff. He produced that 9 animated movie that Tim Burton produced with him, which I remember. I remember seeing the trailer for that, and had the Coheed and Cambria, whatever.
Yeah.
On it, which was awesome in the trailer. And God, I was really excited about that. I was like the little sack boy guy, and he
Yeah.
was the 9th one, and man, I was disappointed in that.
It was a small movie. That was the
Well,
it was the trailer pumped it up as more epic than it was.
Yeah. But anyways, he produced stuff like that. Anyways, so he's kind of a novelty kind of guy, what have you. So that's probably why it got the release it did. But yeah, I don't know if I would recommend anyone going to see this in the theater and paying $12 for it, or however much it is that you pay in your city. Maybe it's a video kind of thing. Maybe it's maybe it's easier to digest if you get to sit at home and watch it in pieces, or go take you take a bathroom break or what have you in between things or whatever. But yeah, going back to what you're saying about the violence, it's very violent, and the credits is incredibly violent. And if you watch it, and when you see it, you'll see what I mean. It's just a lot of crazy people just getting stabbed and what have you. But yeah, there's a lot of violence. There's a lot of nudity, and listen, this movie is not for everybody. As a matter of fact, it's not for most people, to be honest with you. But when we walked in, we thought. I remember we had to walk this little corridor before we make a right and go into the stadium part of it, and I thought, I looked over at you and said, "We're going to be the only two here."
But we weren't.
But no, we weren't. There were 2 other people there, and oddly enough, they were like an elderly couple. There was a man and a woman there that had to at least be in their 60s, and I was like, man, is this the demographic for this? Is this is that what this hardcore Henry is? Is it go out to everybody, and then or are they just cool old people?
Like, well, we would probably be at 60.
Yeah, But no, the reason I even bring it up is because about halfway into the movie, I look over to my left and I see a couple old gray-haired foxes getting up out of their seat and head toward the exit. And with that said, there was a guy, a younger guy, 30-something that left as well. But I guess really my point is that know what you're getting into, know what you're watching. In this day and age, there's no excuse. Back when we were youngsters in the 80s and 90s, and anybody even more obviously before that, you had to go by critics, or you had to go by the paper, or you had to just take a chance on something. If it looked cool, if it sounded interesting to you, then you went for it. This day and age, you can, and I don't really care. I mean, somebody probably say, well, they're 60, so they're probably, still there's no excuse. It's there for you to do it. If you choose not to look online, if you choose not to watch a trailer, if you choose, then if you lost $12, then it's on you. I'm not trying to be mean on these old people, because like I said, the other guy left, and if they did see it on purpose, willingly, and they knew what they were getting into, and they were left because the content wasn't very good, which I could understand. Okay, but anyway, I just thought that was funny. That I'm just thinking, certainly with something like this, don't go into it blind unless you want to take a chance. And if you do, like we kind of did, because when I saw the trailer, half of me was like, that's neat. I remember the part in the trailer that really got me was when he blew up a van, and then it propelled him into the air, and he landed on a motorcycle that someone else was driving. I went, man. And once again, keep in mind, this thing is all in first person. The perspective is his perspective. So that's why I was talking about, like nauseation, and like if you got nausea, it's a possibility that a lot of people can go in and come out of here with a headache.
But it's funny though because a lot of people already felt that way with the trailer. So I feel like a lot of those people they already knew going in because I know I think it was I can't remember who it was on YouTube, but they had said that not even a minute in the trailer and they were already just like I can't do this.
Well, I can understand
I
can understand on the basis of this kind of movie and what you saw, but I mean, if you watch 30 seconds of the trailer and you got dizzy, then I think your next appointment should be for a doctor. Because Christ, you know, it certainly is a movie that will warrant someone to get, you know, their equilibrium be a little messed with, and you know, take some Dramamine before you go in. But I didn't feel that way at all. I went in and watched it, and I thought I was, you know, not that stuff like it happens to me a lot, but no, I didn't like Vertigo. I mean, I am not the biggest fan of heights. I mean, I can get up, but I mean, you know, and if I got up on a high building and looked over, I'd be like, yeah, I think most people would be like, oh, geez. And there is parts of this movie where they're scaling buildings and they're looking down and they're running on scaffolding and all this kind of stuff like that, which is kind of neat because you get the perspective of, like, there's one part where they're running up a scaffold of a building, and it reminded me of Casino Royale. At the very beginning of Casino Royale, and Bond runs up this crane, you know, or his stuntman ran up this crane, and then he's chasing he chased a guy all the way up to it. And believe me, I'll take that movie any day over this one, but it's kind of interesting when you look at it that way, when you're like, this is similar. He was running up some kind of a beam. The perspective that this stuntman might have had, you know, as he runs up these things, even though he might have been held on by a wire, but you're like, geez, you got to have some guts to do that,
Right.
even with a wire on. But yeah, but anyways, I didn't have any problems. But just be warned if you do go see that, go see it. It's it you know, you may want to take some Dramamine or be prepared for it at least. I'm looking here at the runtime. I was curious earlier. It looks like 1:36, 1 hour and 36 minutes. And then that's counting the credits. So we're probably saying about an hour and a half, which is probably the right. I mean, if it's really anything over content-wise, if there's anything over an hour and a half, it could really get problematic. And to what you were saying earlier, it really did. At first, it was kind of like, okay, this is neat. This is watching a live-action Call of Duty. This is watching one of these games like I was talking about. But I was kind of getting in. I was like, this is different. This is interesting. I've never experienced anything like this. And like I said, if most people would have, if they would have in the past, it'd have been in some kind of a theme park. So, and they might have done it. I don't go to theme parks a lot. So if they have done something like that, then you know what I'm talking about. But, and I was getting into it and I was like, okay, this is different and whatever. But I tell you, it really did wear its welcome out quickly. Well, I wouldn't say quickly, but about the end of the second act, I was like, okay, because they have another set piece. It's really set up a little bit of story, set piece, set up a little bit more story, set piece. And what I mean by set piece, I mean also action involved. That piece, you know, and we got into this set piece around in this one part, and I was like, I remember thinking, please be the end. I wasn't not enjoying myself. I was like, you know, I've seen an hour of this. You can't do anything else to me here. I've seen it.
There's two other things that kind of if it'd been different. Maybe when that hour and a half was up, I was like, all right, well, I feel completely fulfilled by it. One is you know, we're not expecting a great narrative, but the narrative, like Chris said, it was like here and there. It's like, all right, so basically the narrative is the guy that we're following, that we are the view of,
and he doesn't even have a voice, but yeah, so he doesn't speak throughout the whole thing.
And that's the other thing. There's the two things. The narrative's not that good because it's basically about him trying to get his wife back because his wife is the one that basically constructed the stuff. They did throw in kind of a neat element that the main villain he's got, has like telekinetic powers, so that kind of puts.
And keep in mind, we're actually not going. This is a spoiler-free review because I know a lot of people aren't going to watch this more than likely. Versus last week or last time we had a spoiler Batman Superman review, which we figured that most people were going to see it, but we warned people anyway. But yeah, we're going to keep this kind of thing spoiler-free. But yeah.
But the fact, because just think about that, the fact that he doesn't have a voice really hurts. You're pretty much the viewer. Well, that being the case, and in one of them that we'll talk about later, that's actually one of my favorite found footage movies. If the main person has a lot of charisma that you're seeing through their eyes and everything, then it can carry it a long way. And the fact that he didn't have a voice right off the bat, I was like, well, we're not going to hear the guy speak, so we're not going to be able to really empathize with him. And
well, that's another reason why I say it's like a Call of Duty. You're the lone guy most of the time, and you don't speak at least as you're playing. But see, that's the thing, is this whole movie is like there's not any cutscenes really. It's like, because the perspective never changes. Even in Halo, you get to a certain checkpoint, and then it'll cut to a cutscene. You get to see Master Chief and everybody, and they have their briefing, and then it cuts back into first person move, and then you play the game. This is first person till the end, and I mean till the credit rolls. But yeah, it does hurt when you don't have a voice to the main character. Exposition is what drives a movie, but exposition is never the best part of the movie. Any writer, anybody that knows anything about writing, knows that you have to explain why Joe Smith goes from A to B. But explaining why he goes there, or how he gets there, isn't really what's entertaining. It's showing. It's what the trials and tribulations, it's who he meets, it's all the things that happen to get to B. And then you get from B to C, you got to tell why you got to go from B to C. And then you follow that particular journey. That's the fun part. And it's really just being talked at, this whole movie. You just kind of like, they're saying, okay, we got to do this. Okay, you got to do this. Okay, this is happening. Okay, this is happening. And the camera nods, or Henry nods, and you move on. But there was a lot of really interesting kind of stuff. I mean, it really was. I mean, to see an entire hour and a half of a perspective where somebody jumps out a window. I mean, like I said, it's certainly something to where it's I think you might want to at least experience whenever you catch it, whether it be TV, on video, if you see it in the theater, because you don't get that. You're not going to get that often. You probably won't get it again. And like I've always said, is that I don't need any more. I don't need any more of these. So unless it's maybe another Henry movie, but I don't need another franchise in case this thing makes billions of dollars, which it never it won't. There's no reason to make more. No, we don't need this anymore, but it is certainly an experience. It's certainly something to see. Certainly, when you're looking straight at down the barrel of a gun, or somebody shooting at you, it does feel like they're shooting at you. If they got a flamethrower, if you're jumping out a window, if you're jumping through glass, you're rolling on the ground. And the guy's kind of like parkour as well. So
I can't even parkour in my dreams.
Yeah, I might parkour in my dream, but
no, I can't.
But no, I don't know how it is to experience the perspective. I don't know what it looks like when these cats are climbing up walls and flipping off stuff. Matter of fact, they're jumping off stuff onto it. I'm like, man, that's pretty high. And even if the guy had a wire, which some of the stuff I wonder if he did or not, because we've all seen real parkour people jump from one flight of something to the next or what have you. So I mean, like, oh my goodness, and he jumps down and lands on. I think he lands on some stairs.
So, yeah,
there's one particular part in my head.
Him. Yeah,
and I'm like, geez. But anyways,
I am curious though, and if anybody does this that's listening, then just give me credit as well. That's all I ask for. But when this gets released to DVD, where people can put scenes on YouTube, because the character doesn't have a voice.
Oh yeah.
Do you think somebody's gonna Mystery Science Theater the thing to where they do like they take a scene and they do an impression of Bill Cosby as Hardcore Henry?
That's what he's on. Bill Cosby's on his fucking run to get his roofie, so he can poison the next lady. I'm sorry, I don't know. Allegedly.
I don't know. I just.
But no. Anyways, I'd almost guarantee that somebody is going. Well, I mean, because it's perfect.
It's perfect. Yeah.
I mean, you can do anything you want to. You could not only. I mean, they don't have to necessarily even just record over. Hell, you could put in stuff from movies,
Right. Well, I'm thinking of like back in the day, the X-Men. I'm the Juggernaut, bitch, and doing stuff like that. It's like somebody would use that voice and be like, I'm a Hardcore Henry.
Oh yeah.
Well, if that happens, then it's worth another watch.
Well, right. Like I said, it's definitely interesting to take a look at. I'm just speaking of looking at. I'm looking at the Rotten Tomatoes. Once again, none of these scores or anything that we say for that matter means anything definitively. So if you think it looks like crap, or if you really, really want to see it, go see it by all means. No matter if we tell you whatever our opinions might be. But I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes. It looks like 55% is what it got. But hey, look, I mean, it's similar to what, I mean, so I don't know. Once again, that's why opinions are subjective. That's why opinions are a great thing because, all right, 55% tomato meter. Audience score, 70%. Now, last time we did a podcast, it was 29% tomato meter, 70% audience like. So, and I really did not, not going into it, but I really did not I didn't have a lot of fun. I didn't really enjoy myself with Batman v Superman. That's all I'll say about that. Yet it got a bad score from Tomatoes and a good score from the audience. Now, here I am looking at this thing, 55% to 70. So that just goes to show everybody, it doesn't matter. All I can tell you for me, and all Ken can tell you, I would assume, without speaking for him, is how we felt. And with this movie, and once again, understand the movie you're seeing. I don't believe that all movies need to be judged similarly. And if somebody thinks that's unfair, I'll tell you what I mean. I mean that you've got something like this, and you've got The Room, not the one with Tommy Wiseau, the new one
the
with
one that was nominated, yeah,
right, or
the DiCaprio Revenant.
The Revenant,
like The Revenant.
And
don't compare those.
Yeah,
two
you got an Oscar-worthy movie. Don't go, well, clearly The Revenant. Well, yes, clearly The Revenant was better, but somebody might have, they might enjoy hardcore. But the thing is, if The Revenant does what it's supposed to do, and it's clearly a movie that's about good characters and good story and what have you, at least that's what they were going for, and it delivers on all that, on what it's supposed to do, whether anybody gives it a bad score or not, if it did that for you, go for it. Same thing with Hardcore Henry. Clearly, they didn't jump out the gate going, we're talking about story, we're talking about characters, we're going to rival what have you, the Coen brothers. We want to make a fun, different, innovative movie. And if they failed on that, it's a failure, no matter what Tomatoes score they have. And so with that said, I think they succeeded. I think it was a fun movie. I think it was definitely worth seeing as just an experience at some point, wherever it might be, because it is an experience. Because I haven't seen anything like that in this format, in a movie format. So I've got to tip my hat to it. I've got to give it some kudos for doing that, knowing that they're going to lose money. I mean, I don't know how much. I don't know how much they spent on it, but
and it's funny because when this trailer first came out, I know I was against seeing it at first, and you were like, hey, it looks like fun. And so here's how I gauged it, and here's my opinion of it in final. Is I said, all right, this movie is roughly going to be about an hour and a half. It looks crazy. There's definitely going to be some scenes that'll make me laugh. Be like, oh, that's cool, whatever. But can it sustain that for an hour and a half? Can this experience entertain me for an hour and a half? And that goes for the same, like other movies where I know going in that it's not going to have a great narrative. But what the people are telling me is we've found something that is going to entertain you to where you're not going to look at your watch halfway in because of this new innovative way that we're doing it. Yeah, and roughly, I have to say Hardcore Henry fails there because, like I said, about halfway into the movie, and like you'd said yourself, with that one particular scene, it's like, is it over yet? So if you have that kind of feeling, because I had that feeling about halfway in, and if you have that kind of feeling, then it's a gimmick that just, to me, does not work as a movie format.
Well, no, it doesn't really work as a format. As an experiment, it was interesting, but like I said, that's why I say that it's, it seemed like it should have been a 30, 45-minute ride because that would have been perfect. Now, I agree and disagree only that maybe a little more. I think it was the end of about 3/4 of the way through the movies when I felt that way. So probably about an hour in. So if this movie was an hour, but the thing is, you no theatrical. There's not this day and age. You don't put a theatrical movie out that's under an hour. It just can't be done. You might as well put it on TV or do something. So I disagree in that it didn't. It was a little longer. So I mean, when it first started, I wasn't going. All right, come on, let's go. Come on. All right. But it did wear its welcome quickly, or at least it ultimately wore it thin. Like I said, around the beginning of the third act. So that's where I will agree with you there, is that it did do that ultimately. So if they cut some time on this thing, it would have been a really interesting, probably the best payoff you could have with this experiment like this. But it's a double-edged sword because you can't really make a movie for that short and put it in the theater. One thing though, before we change subjects, is that I just wanted to mention that that there's really only three. There's only three cast members in this movie, and it's and really one really, but the main cast is as I'm looking here, there's a lady that plays the love interest / victim, whatever. Haley Bennett is her name. I'm looking here now. I don't know if you'll believe this or not. The guy that was the villain is the director.
Oh wow, really?
According to this right here, yeah.
Okay.
Ilya Nashuler.
He kind of reminded me of Crispin Glover in a way too. I don't know.
I don't know
Like
what
from
he
like
reminded-
Charlie's
He's like
whatever.
as for description, he's kind of like a pasty albino kind of dude. I kept thinking he was blind. Did you ever think for a while? Because
He does
acted like
have
he was
color
kinda blind.
contacts, and yeah.
Well, I mean, I know he had color
Yeah.
contacts, but I don't know if you ever noticed that it looked like he never really looked at you.
That's true. Yeah.
Like he was blind. And I thought they were going to reveal that. I guess if there's any kind of spoiler, they don't reveal he's blind
He might
because he's
not be
not.
blind, I don't know.
But it never looked like he. And I thought, well, maybe that's part of his power since he's got like telekinesis. Maybe he can see like Daredevil or something. I don't know. Anyways, but the star of this movie, besides Henry, is Charlo Copley.
If you're unfamiliar with him, he's basically Neil Blomkamp's boy. He was in Elysium. He was in District 9.
He was in the.
He was
18
Murdoch
remake.
on 18.
Yeah. So, and he's in this new show Powers. That's like a Sony PlayStation exclusive. But anyway, and he's actually good. That's what I wanted to end on. He was the probably outside of just the attraction or whatever.
It was entertaining.
He was the
Entertaining
best
to
part
watch
of the
him.
movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Go
he really
through
was.
multiple.
And it's an
wardrobes
interesting character.
yeah.
I will say, have you ever seen a character like that before in a movie?
No.
At least done that way.
No.
I mean, it was pretty interesting. I thought that was definitely the coolest part of the movie, as far as just, sustainability outside of just the gimmick.
The part of the narrative that was more than what I expected. Yeah, that was a pretty cool part of the narrative.
All right. So anyway, that's Hardcore Henry.
So
it's certainly not going to be for everybody. So.
What do we score it?
I'm going to give it a 6, actually, just because I think it delivered on what it was trying to do. Which would be slightly above average. And like I said, I don't know about. I think we gave it a 5. We gave it a point scale for Batman. I don't know if I'm going to mess with that for me personally. I just want to try to keep it simple. I'll make it out of a 10 scale. 5 being a mediocre movie, 1 being trash, 10 being the best thing around. So I give it 1 point above average.
I give it average. I give it about 5 out of 10.
Yeah. So. Go check out Hardcore Henry if you so desire, wherever your local theater is, if you wish. If anything, it's an experience.